So I gave him the go away price, hoping he would go away, and thankfully he did.
Yeah.
Oh,
He didn't take.
good.
Yeah, I did not want him to
Usually
take.
they go at that point. They're like, okay.
Right? And you're
no.
like, shit.
No, I think. And welcome to the Rather Black Project, Crystal and John.
Hey.
What's up?
Nothing. Same old.
Nothing. Same old, same old.
Mhm.
I got some stuff, but that'll be in the life update.
Oh, what do you have?
Huh? Oh, this is some tea.
I wonder if I know it.
You do know. You just don't know
Okay.
what I'm talking about.
All
But
right.
it's all right. This episode is brought to you by
Katie with Monarch Pine. If you're looking for jewelry, blanks, or findings, check out her new website, monarchpine.com, and use code RileyBlack for 10% off. If you're a patron, you get an even higher discount. So go check that out.
That's right. And speaking of Patreon, now's a great time to join Patreon. As low as $6 a month, you get 10
It's
days.
actually on sale right now.
It's on sale.
Too,
Oh, your
for my
birthday. Your birthday sale. Okay.
Yes, and this
comes out the
episode-
12th. So we're halfway through.
No, the episode comes out on the 19th.
Oh.
Yeah,
the
but
19th?
still,
Oh,
there'll
the
be
19th.
there'll be enough time.
Yeah. So you have a few more days.
So I don't know if you need a code, but if you do, the code is Happy Birthday, Happy B Day.
So is that off the first month? Is that off
First month or year? So
year.
10% off the first month or year.
Okay.
This is new. That we couldn't do discounts before, and then
Mhm.
when you could, this is the first time I've tried it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll get 10% off their first month or year if they sign up for Patreon.
And it's as low as $6. Remember, again, do not sign in the app. Don't sign up in the Apple App Store.
Yes.
Go on the browser, because if not, you'll pay a nice 30% to Apple.
Yeah.
Also join our Facebook group, the Riley Black Project Community.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are a patron, you get an exclusive Facebook group, TRBP Hangout.
Yes.
Feel like there's something else.
No,
Oh yes,
that's all the things.
the
What?
names. We have names.
Oh yes.
So yeah, let's read the names.
Okay. Melody P, Jen Kilgore, Taimata, Pam with Barefoot Inspirations, Alicia Logan, Christian C, Christian with Tumbly House Creative, Kim and Garrett Make It, Debbie Dean, Patricia L, Michelle with Edwards Farm Decor, Toby with Cuddle.xyz, Keith, Christina M, Jen with Laser Last Design Co, Candy with Turtle to Go Creations, Sheila with Science Inspirations LLC, Natalie C, Hannah B, Kevin with Sludge Epoxy, Daniel with The Live Pixel Creates, Danny M, Stephanie with Pretty Pitty Design, Catherine with Primary Market, Bree with The Burn Shack, Aaron with Aaron's Acrylic Animals, Christy C, Jess with Jersey Girl Sign Shop, Jillian B, Trisha with Mama Six Creations, Rexy with Spreading Stardust, Heather Lynn with Lobo Designs, Liz with Laser Outpost, Superfan Brandy, Victor with Excited Adam, Katie with Monarch Pine, Lisa, David with Creative Cut Supplies, Stephanie L, Barbie C, Madison B, Emily, That Mom with Laser, Mark with Big Blue Laser Designs, Kathy Ray, The Testing Queen, MJ with Craft and Carry Customs, Ryan's Sprouts Creations, and Will with Crazy Laser. Thanks, everybody.
All right, those were all the names. That is an awkward edit point where I'm gonna drop in the names because we're not gonna waste our guests' time.
No.
So
there's too many.
that's
Good
right.
thing.
It is a good thing.
Yeah.
And they scroll, so you'll see and hear your name.
Yes.
So, this week,
What?
I did all this.
Oh no, you didn't do the name preparation?
Yeah, not the name. I got all the fun facts.
Okay,
I got the
I know
fun
her
facts.
name.
Perfect.
And the company
So,
name.
she's a morning person, which we are.
We are not.
Her alarm is set for 4. Was it 4:02? 4 in the morning. Let's
Yeah.
just call it 4.
Oof.
Even if it's 4:10, it's 4 in the morning.
It's
That's
too early.
It's too early.
Yeah.
Unless one of the kids wakes up in the middle of the night and
Yes.
then JR comes in the room and tells us that his brother is, because they're on the other side of the house.
Right.
Was a history teacher. I failed history the first time around.
Yeah, me and history don't go well.
So world history. I don't know what kind of history, but I failed world history the first
Nice.
time around. And left that once she got her laser. So welcome to the show.
Jess with Script Grain. Is that right?
Yes. Thank you
Okay, good.
so much for having me.
You're
How
welcome.
are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
So I met her officially the first time when we were doing a project with Liz from Bella Collective. We were
Okay.
doing the conversations behind the laser, right?
Mhm, yeah.
And she had, it was funny because she tagged me in like a story and I said, she kind of like quoted me and it was like, just get it out there, it doesn't
Right.
have to be perfect or whatever, or something like that. And I was like, I said that? I don't even, because it's like, just like the podcast and those kind of things, like as soon as I say these things, I don't remember
Right.
like what I said or how I said it. I'll know generally like what we talked about, but
Right.
not like what I said. So it was funny. But yeah, so I appreciated the shout out. I was super self-conscious about it, which you'd think doing podcast weekly for several years now that I
You
wouldn't
would
be,
think,
but
no.
it's not how it goes. But it was just, we've been talking a lot lately about how I feel like we have about collabing and how important it is because one, you get to like widen your audience, but you get to meet other awesome people, in the community. And that was one of the things that has brought, a lot of people together. So tell us a little bit about your background. We know that you were, a teacher and all that, but how did lasers come about in that mix?
Magically, I decided to go down the road less traveled. Basically, I was teaching. I was a history teacher for 11 years and spent 1 year as an adjunct professor at Temple University. And this, I always think like pre-COVID era and post-COVID era now.
Right.
I mean, I guess like everybody does.
Yeah.
But while I was teaching, I actually had a side business and still do for many years that my plan was to grow that so I didn't always have to have my teaching career. And that was actually in the wedding industry as a calligrapher and as a stationery designer. And, I started to work with planners and I started to get really busy. And I was getting around that point where I hate the cliche taking the leap because you work really hard to do that. So I feel like you're just building that bridge so that you can cross it smartly, intentionally. And it was getting very close to that time when I became pregnant with twins, which the pregnancy itself wasn't a surprise, but the twins were. And it was in 2019 and they were due in early December. I actually had them in October and we thought, okay, maternity leave in this country is not that great, especially in the state of Pennsylvania when you're a teacher. And it was going to cost me a lot of money to be able to continue my teaching career.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, if there is a time, then the time is now. I can take my own maternity leave and then continue my business once I adjust to life with twins.
Yeah.
What
was the maternity leave? How long was it? And like, was it unpaid? And
oh my gosh, this is just like gut wrenching to even verbalize it. But basically, and I think it's different by state, but maybe even by county. But the district I was in, they allow you to take up to 6 weeks unpaid, but there's always the fine print that goes with that. And the whole idea is you can take 6 weeks unpaid, but to get any kind of payment, you have to use the sick days that teachers are given. We were given 10 sick days a year and we could accumulate them, but I did have 3 other pregnancies before that. So I had no sick days, as well as other ill parents that are local and taking time for them as well. Yeah. That's just like our lives when you're in your 30s and 40s now. But so I had no sick days. And in order for me to take off, I think I had 5 days left. In order for me to take off more than 5 days, I had to pay back the school district, my insurance, my substitute rate, any other benefits that I had. I mean, it was well over $10,000
to take a maternity leave.
Oh, that was just like 7 days. That was like 7 or 10 extra days. And,
oh my God.
It was atrocious.
That just gave me chills like that. Yeah. I remember, I mean, so with our first,
you're bringing in revenue to the school district at some point. You have 2
making children.
You have 2 kids that they're going to be able to write off in the future.
Right.
That's crazy. Like I remember, with our first, there was no maternity leave. So we had to save his like one of his 2-week vacation.
Paternity leave,
Yeah, but they didn't have anything at that station. And it was so terrifying being a new parent and literally only having his help for a week. I had a legit breakdown before he went back to work after 7 days, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, we just got home, 2-3 days ago, and now you have to go back to work. And it was hard.
Yeah, and that started like a day before when we were in the hospital.
Right. Yeah, it starts as soon as you go into labor.
So it's not
and
even
like,
when we get home.
No, you have the help of nurses and everyone else, and then we get home. We've been home for 3 days, and then now you're like, cool, deuces, I gotta go to work. And I'm like, wait, what? Lone Star Adhesive has elevated the industry standard with their premium leatherette, UV printed goods, and American-made products in leather, acrylic, PVC, and their indestructible thermal activated adhesive.
You can check them out at lonestaradhesive.com or join their Facebook community of nearly 30,000 fellow makers who share the belief that you shouldn't cut corners and instead stick to excellence.
Lone Star Adhesive official group is where it's at, and you can use code TRBP15 to get 15% off your next purchase.
Go get you some.
Go.
Now. Attention all laser owners and crafters. Are you tired of spending hours cutting, painting, and assembling laser products? Look no further than the Crazy Laser Dad's Laser Ready Blanks.
Their high-quality blanks are expertly sourced and tested and ready to use on your laser. Say goodbye to the hassle and frustration of time-consuming projects and hello to more time creating and selling.
Plus, with their wide selection of items, you'll surely find the perfect blank for your customers.
Visit crazylaserdad.com today and take your laser crafting to the next level with their Laser Ready Blanks.
Right.
Yeah, that's so wow, that's so rough. I hope that it's at least better now. I don't know that it's improved, but like I remember, what did I get? I don't remember what I got with Anadarko. I think you got 8 weeks. I don't know that it was paid. And then you could take like additional like vacation time after. You could take up to 12 weeks, but 8 weeks I think they covered, and then the other 4 weeks, if you wanted to take it, it was either vacation time or unpaid. But paying them back is just wow.
I mean, I kind of get it. Their whole idea was that, well, it's the taxpayers' money that's paying your salary, and if you're not here, and we still have to pay a sub rate, but it's like, who's up there in the non-educational field, and that's probably some old dude putting this government agenda together, and it's like it was 2019, and why are we still doing this?
Well, and then how unsafe would that be to go back to work after 5 days after having twins? Like, which is like, if you couldn't afford that, you either have to quit or you have to pay that, or you go back to work after 5 days, and it's like there's no way.
And really, that's kind of what happened in like I quit on my birthday's in August, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this. And I quit, but I kept thinking how, everything just kind of fell into place, because it kind of went downhill from there for a while. My twins were born very early at 32 weeks and they were in the NICU. And I kept telling my husband, could you imagine? Like, I literally would have to go back to work right now.
Yeah.
But then 5 days after that, my whole right side of my face became paralyzed, and I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy.
Oh my God.
If a lot of people don't know much about it, but I literally thought I was having a stroke 5 days after my pregnancy, because your face just like melts. And you can't really talk because even your tongue is numb, and you can't really eat or drink from a straw. And it was awful. And I taught high school, and I kept thinking they would never give me extra time off unpaid just because of that. And I kept thinking, like, there's literally, I physically would not be able to go back into the classroom. My twins are still an hour away in a NICU center.
Oh my
God. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard, but I'm so glad that we were able to, just a couple months before, make that decision then and there that it wasn't feasible. So there was some sign that in gut that I trusted, because for years my husband said, just quit your job. And I'm like, no, but I don't know. But I was finally like, it's now the time.
Yeah. And I think waiting for those moments really helps making that decision easier, had I even thought about making the decision when we did, years before. I wouldn't have been able to, because 2 years prior to that, I loved my boss. I loved my job. I, was pretty happy with what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then it drastically changed. I mean, right before we ended up having JR, about a year before. And so when he, got another job, and it meant that, we would have to move across the country and I would have to quit. I'd been there for 12 years, but everything had completely changed. I wasn't happy anymore. They didn't really I had to, towards the end of my pregnancy, I was having to kind of beg to work from home because I had thrown out my back while pregnant. And so it was, I was just all around miserable towards the end. And, what I did, I paid invoices. It was basically data entry. And I'm like, there's no reason I need to be driving 45 minutes to an hour, to and from work when I can physically do my job temporarily, from home. And I always felt so guilty the days where I'm like, and I would get so much work done because I could easily, go to the bathroom. I could do what I needed to do. I didn't have to get ready for work, drive, do all that extra stuff. And so it was like, you realize, and we had just gone through a huge layoff too. And I'm like, you realize how expendable you are to a lot of these places. And you're like, why am I literally giving you every ounce of energy and oomph I have when you don't give that back to me?
Yeah.
And, we had just gone after the layoffs. Then we went through that next year. It came raise time and they gave me a 0% raise, zero raise. And I'm like, oh, okay, I just worked my ass off for nothing when you basically let go the entire department and, for what? So it was a huge sense of, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was making t-shirts and stuff on the side, and my side business was doing well, but I didn't care where I worked and even if it was much lower pay, as long as I was happy doing what I was doing.
And it wasn't even necessarily a business. It was just you were just making shirts on the week, on the side, not even to sell, just to give to friends and stuff.
Yeah. No, I was selling them.
You were selling them?
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. I was selling them. Remember, I was making I had
some
weekends where it was 30 shirts.
I thought that was once we moved here.
Oh, no. That was still,
That was in Colorado?
Yeah, that was still in Colorado. But again, I hadn't registered my business. I wasn't it wasn't a huge, it wasn't official. I started making a few for friends, and then other friends would ask, and then it just kind of snowballed. But yeah, having that freedom, it's helped us so many times. I feel like once a week or at least once a month, we're could you imagine if we had regular jobs, being able to do the stuff with friends, family, etc.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to roll you back. Cause if JR calls, if the school calls to come pick him up or whatever, oh, we got to go. We're only 3 minutes away from the school,
right.
Luckily. But I'm like, chill, let's finish what we're doing here.
Right.
Because ideally, if this was a norm, in a normal situation, you have to talk to your boss, get clearance. It takes you, it'll probably take you about at close 15 to 20 minutes to get to the school to sign them out.
Right.
We have the luxury of, we can just get up and go right now.
Right. For the most part.
But at the same time, it's well, let's tie, because once he gets home, that's it. We're done. So let's tie up these loose ends and then go get them.
Yeah. Well, and you're not only managing, the twins, like you said, you have 5 kids total, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So managing those schedules, I can only imagine, is difficult, especially if both of you work outside of the home.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely does. And, it's, and just hearing what you guys were saying as well, it clicked to me after you realize a lot of things. And I'm sure you guys know, after you leave your full-time job, your career, that so many things in perspective come into place, how backwards everything just is. Why would I need to ask my boss permission to care for a child who's sick and puking or a fever or whatever, or in the NICU? And we work so hard to enjoy a couple hours on the weekend. And, you almost think it should just be reversed. And, we work hard to get to that point of hopefully that we can enjoy a retirement, but that's a gamble. And, if hopefully we all get to that point and we can enjoy it. But that's what made me think too, it's here and now. And instead of chasing those bigger dreams, it's the smaller and smaller things that became much more important to me after I left that job too. So, yeah.
So when you ended up leaving, had you purchased a laser yet, or were you still doing the calligraphy and like the wedding stuff?
So still finishing up a lot of calligraphy jobs and stationery jobs. But I did not have a laser yet. And it was in January of 2020 where my husband just came home. He's in the concrete industry, and he goes out to the World of Concrete every year, and he sees all these cool tools and whatnot. And I think while he was there, he might have seen something, or I don't know. He's one of those like, as seen on TV, if you see it, you got to check it out kind of thing.
Right.
But he's like, we should really look at these laser things, and maybe you should get one. And that could help supplement and grow my stationery business, because I was in the position where Bell's palsy, with my face being paralyzed, that lasted for a long time, months. Wow. And, there's still some side effects today, but our whole train of thought was, we have newborn twins at home. And, since I did a lot of custom art, I met with clients and their mothers, usually mother brides, one-on-one. And it killed me to like have to go to a consultation, knowing that I looked like Quasimodo, and like, it just,
and how uncomfortable for them, they're going through like this stressful situation. They're trying to hire out vendors and all this. And like, you feel empathy, and that like, it's gotta be difficult for the other person. And then it's just like this awkward, and you are self-conscious about it too. Yeah,
absolutely. But no, we started investigating it, and we scheduled a meeting with a well-known laser company who I don't have to name, but I'm sure people put the puzzle together. We searched everywhere on how to contact someone, and customer service across the board is just such a priority for me. And I think it says a lot about when you can talk to one person and see how they fit in the company that they're representing, then that's where you get that connection, and that's where you get that good vibe. But we finally were able to get a hold of someone. We scheduled an appointment and got babysitters for our 5 kids, and they stood us up. And I was so upset because I still had to pay that babysitter.
Right.
Got a hold of them. They said, we're so sorry. Like, here tomorrow, we have this person, we'll be there. Shame on me for the second time, because there again, the only way I could get a hold of them is through email. They don't really have numbers that you can call. So I emailed them, and they're like, oh, well, the girl, I don't know what her name was, but she left for the day. And it's like, well, okay. Then we started pushing, and we said, you know what, we're here right now, and we want to talk about this.
Yeah.
And, they were like, well, we can answer some questions. We literally, like, I think we told them, we had our checkbook out on the counter. Like, we wanted to buy your product. We just wanted to know some questions.
Right.
Some questions.
Yeah.
And they just seemed like they didn't want to be bothered by it. So we were like, all right. And
on to the next one.
Went on a whim and shot Eon an email. And as I'm sure any Eon owner can say, that they were so responsive and so welcoming and went over anything. There was no pressure at any time. And that's where we landed. And that's at the end of January, we ordered the laser. I was, I think, the 10th shipment, and they're well over 100 now. So
that's awesome.
Show how.
Yeah, we were 4.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild to think.
That's awesome. So then, and is that the only laser you have now, or do you have more like the rest of us?
I have like a little diode laser that I was sent, but never took it out of the box.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I love my machines, but I do have I have the 100-watt fiber, and I have my Mira 9.
Nice.
And then I have a CNC, and that's not Eon, obviously, but my other lasers are. Mm-hmm.
So what was like the first thing you made? Was it like a simple transition for you? Like how did you go from what you were doing before to after like the laser? What was your typical product before you got one and then after?
Yeah, actually, being in the wedding industry, I knew a lot of people would need assistance with their projects that they had too. And before I even received my laser, a good friend of mine, in a paper, I call them my paper people because we were stationery designers, but we were in a group chat, and she said, "Can you cut a bunch of circle cardstock for me?" So that was my first job.
Nice.
Was just literally cutting circles on
I love it.
paper, which is the most ridiculous thing. But that and what everybody else did, the engraved pencils, you know,
right?
that's
Of course.
a graduation to a laser hood, but
right.
Yeah, so that's what I started with. I did a sign, which I actually still do a lot of my calligraphy work engraved, and I just lettered. Gosh, I think it's even behind me somewhere, but it says "My First Cut" or something like that. And I played around with the settings, and I was able to engrave and cut at the same time to see what worked for that. And
nice.
It was just really, really small things that would let me grow. And the transition, it wasn't that difficult because I had such a good design background already.
Right.
Mainly Adobe Illustrator, but it's just Lightburn calls them different things, it seems like.
Right.
So yeah, it wasn't too terrible. But
what were you making prior to the laser? Were you making the stationery? Were you making any signs? Like, and were you like how was that?
Yeah. So, whole wedding invitation suites were the main focus. A lot of them were done in all calligraphy, or I would be able to use my iPad to digitally do the calligraphy and replicate it. And the day of signs, the table numbers and things like that, which I would always outsource. So getting a laser allowed me to keep that in-house, which was a big game changer in itself. But my whole idea and my husband's whole idea in getting this was to be able to get like gift sets together for brides and grooms and things like that too. So, and that's actually a direction I never ended up going.
Yeah, that was my next question is that what you do now, or what is the bulk of what you do currently?
Yeah. So I experimented around for a while in the wedding industry. And when I started to be able to offer personalized gifts and build relationships with my local community, that really kind of changed things for me altogether, because with the wedding stationery and the calligraphy work, it was mainly nationwide. And I would ship, I would do a Zoom meeting, or I would meet. I'm probably about 2 hours away from any city. So it was a lot of people who were not as local. And it really allowed me to kind of switch gears. And so I took on less weddings as a result of being able to offer more things, and actually, just playing around to find what I loved and kind of floating above the whole idea of niching down and figuring out what I liked to do. So it wouldn't be the hamster in the wheel, just doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
But yeah, there was, I think my last wedding wasn't too long ago, but I didn't put any more in the books, but the tables have really turned, because now I'm serving other stationery and wedding professionals and helping them with their signs, and it removes the bride and the mother aspect.
Nice. Yeah. Weddings can be tough. He's a videographer, and he avoids them like the plague if he can, because it's a very, what do you call it? Not typical, but it's common to do them because they're a regular occurring event and stuff. But
it's almost like the low hanging fruit for videography is to get right into weddings and stuff like that. And I mean, it does work, because here's the thing. Like they just reached out yesterday. Someone reached out to me because I did one it wasn't really a wedding, it was like a vow renewal, but they never had like the traditional wedding, so they went all out for their vow renewal. So I had done that as a favor for someone else. not completely free or anything like that, but like I took the job as a favor, and then I think they're the ones who recommended me for this one.
That's what I assumed as well.
That's what I assumed, because no one else knows that I do weddings, and if anyone asks, I tend to be like, not really.
Yeah.
Although a photographer actually reached out to me last week.
Yeah.
A photographer friend of mine. He was like, hey, super last minute. They thought, I don't know how, they thought I was doing the video for them, but I don't. So I gave him the go away price.
Yeah.
And
the wedding's on Saturday.
Yeah, the wedding's it's like Thursday or Friday. He calls me for the wedding on Saturday to shoot it. I'm like, dude, there's no prep, there's no time. Like, so I gave him the go away price, hoping he would go away, and thankfully he did.
Oh,
I did not want him to take.
Go at that point. They're like, okay,
right? And you're like, shit.
No, I think I don't know if it was coming out of his pocket or I don't know what, but he's like, oh, that budget's a little too high for them. I'm like, listen, I got no time to plan, so I have to. I have to charge this much because this is super last minute. I have to cancel a bunch of projects. I have to fit this into my editing schedule.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I gave him the go away price. He went away, and then I was reached out, and I was like, well, let me get some information about the wedding, see if it fits with dates, and if everything is, I'm still gonna give them like a go away price.
Yeah.
But one that maybe they'll take, and I'll be happy to do it for that price. But the Riley Black Project is sponsored by Monarch Pine.
Monarch Pine is your trusted source for premium laser blanks and jewelry findings. From large loop earring hooks made specifically for acrylic and wood earrings to laser-tested stainless steel necklace and bracelet blanks, they have everything you need to bring your creative ideas to life.
As a maker, you know the value of quality supplies. And that's exactly what Monarch Pine delivers. Whether you're crafting as a hobby or running a full-time business, their products make it easy to design confidently and create stunning pieces.
Head to monarchpine.com and use code RileyBlack to get 10% off your order. Riley Black patrons get an even bigger discount, so don't miss out.
While you're at it, join the Monarch Pine Craft Supply Insiders Facebook group. It's a vibrant community where makers share tips, inspiration, and their incredible creations.
Monarch Pine, where your creativity takes center stage. Visit monarchpine.com and use code RileyBlack today.
Not tomorrow.
Today. Hey guys, how great would it feel if this was the year you finally got to escape the 9-to-5 and embrace a lifestyle of creativity and entrepreneurship?
Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, Eon Laser USA invites you to join the Above and Beyond webinar, where you'll learn how you can make this a reality.
Join leading laser industry professional and brand ambassador Emily, aka That Mom with a Laser, and Eon Laser USA's sales manager Alicia as they dive into all things Eon.
Learn about the advantages of owning an Eon Laser and get the scoop on Eon's rewards and partner benefits. Plus, get a glimpse at how everyday people who started out with zero experience paid off their lasers, scaled their businesses, and transformed their lifestyles.
So if you're ready for a lifestyle change, head on over to eonlaser.us/whyus and sign up for the Above and Beyond webinar today.
Thanks for listening. Laser on.
Bye. It's hard too because the wedding I saw from the message is next year.
Right.
And so you can agree to a price and do it this year. And then as soon as it comes time to do it next year, like, a lot can change in a year. And I feel like always does for our businesses. Yep. And so like you agree to something that's next year, like you come next year, you're going to be like, why the heck did last year me agree to this?
I would probably, I if it's too far ahead of time, I'll probably tell them, let's go ahead and put this. I would tell you, shop around, see if anyone will put it, but let's talk when it gets closer, and I'll put it on the schedule because I have a few projects. Don't know where I'm going to be. I can't commit to it right now, but let's talk again, or maybe keep shopping around. If you find a videographer who will commit to that date, cool, best luck to you guys. Yeah. Weddings are
trying to find what you want to make is so important, and I feel like the only way you can do that is by actually testing a bunch of things. Hey, I think I want to make these. You find a couple friends or family members or something that you can make them for, or post them on your page and see if anybody has interest. But there were so many things that I thought I wanted to make, and then I made them and I was like, nah, that's not it.
Yep.
So what were some of those things that you did in the beginning to kind of like test the waters?
It was mainly just engraving. I would go to the wholesalers and see do the whole searching on Pinterest and following trends. Now there's Pennsylvania, and there's Philly, and then there's Pittsburgh. And then I call the center part Pennsyltucky because it's just like not near anything. But that being said, I see the trends like at least a month, 1 to 3 months after everybody else.
Right.
So you really have to search for them. And a lot of the things that were trendy were just not, they were just not resonating with me. And, you know, all the tumblers and the Stanley toppers and the pencils, I do those as like a teacher gift. But I will say though that being able to do that allowed me income while I was still experimenting with what I wanted to do. And I think equally as important, because you do want to serve the community around you and of course help them out with what they like. And if you're not serving them, you're not going to have their attention. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think it's a good thing to play when.
Yeah. And then you get to learn along the way.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You recently made, did you finish the crab one?
I did. Yep. I sure did.
What was that sign for?
I was doing a market. I don't do markets that often, usually 1 or 2 in the spring and then maybe 2 more in the fall. But it really, again, it was kind of just playing around. January and February, usually a little bit slower for anyone who's a maker, but on my iPad, and I have probably 3 or 4 files in there that I drew and I never brought to life. Yeah. So that was one that I thought, all right, summer's coming now, so let's get this crab to life. And I had the motivation of a couple new tools as well, you know, with different burrs for shaping, and I wanted to play around with. So that really motivated me. But it was a nice project, and I was able to get it done.
Nice. So where do you, like, what are your goals for this year or like the next few years? Like what are your plans? Like, how do you make this business, you know, fit with such a big family and balancing all of that?
Yeah, for sure. You know, everything is still very serendipitous that in January, we actually were able to settle on a lot of land where I will be able to build my own workshop.
Exciting.
Nice.
I'm so excited. Mainly
so jelly.
Kind of like everything in this venture I was on, I never knew having a laser would just take me down this tunnel here. But having my own shop, I have this, it's a very small space here, but I never said, I really want to move out and I really want to get my own place. But I think that I just kept getting more and more tools and making things better and better. My husband is basically evicting me. So
he's kicking you out.
Strategy. It's worked. So if anyone wants their own place, just keep growing and, you know.
Right. Just keep taking over the house. And...
Right. Exactly. So it worked. Let's just hope he's not listening, because then he's going to know my whole strategy.
Right.
But so I really want to do that. My teaching heart never really left, and it's a dream of mine to actually continue getting back into high schools and maybe tech classes, and actually even just being able, once my shop is built, maybe being able to host them.
Right.
Teens to show what they're capable of, because once I started getting back into the laser journey, I also picked up again, and I went back to scroll sawing, and that those roots kind of take me back to 3rd grade. And I did my first, I'll never forget, it was I had to do a project on the state of Tennessee, and my dad taught me how to use the scroll saw to cut the shape of Tennessee on a block of wood, and I loved it. And him and I always went down to our non-OSHA compliant.
Right.
There was no ventilation whatsoever.
Right.
But I thought, man, if I loved it at that age, and my kids are approaching that age, and I have been going into schools, how neat would it be to host a camp, or especially with younger girls as well?
Yeah.
So, hey, this is an option. And someone asked me the other day, I took the tech classes, all the tech classes in school, and they said, well, why don't you think it clicked with you? And I think that when I was taking the tech ed classes and, building the little box cars or whatever it was that we work on, it seemed like woodworking in general was more of an option for the guys and a pathway for the guys, where for me, I just thought of, oh, this was fun.
Yeah. It's just a project.
Thought that I could, like I got a good grade and I'm good at it, but I'm now just getting credits. And I never thought much more of that. So
I think that's a great example, because I mean, for kids to know that it's even a possibility, they need to see people doing it close to them, even if it's just in proximity, even if they don't necessarily know you. And the hardest part for me was the only people I knew who were being creative and doing it as a business were my teachers. And so I didn't see anyone I knew that was making something creative a business. So it was never even a thought in my mind that it was something I could do. And I will say that, like, at the time, it probably was even harder for an artist to make a livable wage and to do that kind of stuff, because the power of social media wasn't really there. So your reach might have been a lot more difficult. You really probably had to do the local markets and or get like featured somewhere or something like that. But there was no example or someone to look up to for me. And it would have been amazing if it was, if there was another, especially female, for the young girls to see, like, hey, you can do woodworking too. You can do a creative, a job, or even if it's just like an outlet, it doesn't have to necessarily be their career. But I felt the same way, in shop class. I loved shop class, but it never really felt like I could do something with it. It just felt like, this is my class and here's the project.
Yeah, I feel like to your point, as far as like another credit, I feel like all those creative classes were looked upon as like electives and like just another class extra to get you away, to give you some time in between your core classes, and they were never looked upon as like, you can use this in the future. Because like, even for me, TV production, I skipped third period to go edit the video yearbook, but really what we were editing were skateboarding videos, because my buddy was a skateboarder. He would go record it, and then we would bring it back. We would work on the video yearbook for like the first half hour, and then pop out that hard drive and put in the skating hard drive and start editing those videos. But again, that was like fun. It wasn't like, sure, it was preparing me for what I do now, but I didn't know that. I mean, you figure that like, it's the math, like reading, all that.
They almost kind of push it as more like an outlet rather than like anything beyond that.
Yeah, because like when I took pottery, it was never like, you could
sell this. Yeah, that was never a conversation
at all. At all. So it's like,
even my photography class, I had a photography class like where there was actually like, a dark room and all that before like digital cameras and stuff. And there was never a conversation of, hey, if you really like this, you could sell this. It was just like, this is a class, here's a project. And like,
my cinematography class, they're never like, oh, you can be a director. If you like really like, I'm showing you, these are what directors look at. Like, you can, if you get these and if it's easy for you to get these concepts, you might want to look at directing. Never a conversation, just, hey, watch these movies and then we'll talk about them afterwards.
Well, and speaking of teaching, you just recently started a new group where you're kind of, doing some teaching as well and showing people how you can, or how you do use AI for your business, right?
Yeah. And, really, I started the group. It's called The Modern Maker. And it's a private community on Facebook. And it really just came about when people started asking questions about how I started using it. And then I was given a couple different opportunities to speak about it at conferences and virtual conferences. And I thought, we should have this group so that I can continue just to share how it can work in general. And I originally was thinking I could talk about the client management systems, and it wasn't just AI, but I also like to go against the grain a lot. And when I hear a lot of people resisting and saying, "Oh, AI is not for me," or I don't want to deal with the whole Chat GPT thing, and it's like, but if you embrace it and learn it, then not only can it make your life simpler, but you can have that understanding when, like, I joined TikTok probably 15 years after everybody else. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't see that person with Chat GPT or AI in general. So I thought, if I can get other people to at least get the concept, then I can help them.
I was one of those people who was very resistant in the beginning. One, because I didn't really understand what it was. I have trust issues in pretty much any way that it goes, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what it's about. I don't know how it works. And then when the first few times I tried it, I was more almost asking as if I'm asking Google, rather than I figured out basically the way the prompts there is some kind of skill and learning in preparing your prompt in a way that you actually get the answers that you're looking for. And that was something I struggled with in the beginning, because rather than like Googling terms where you have to be pretty general, talking to it as if it's a person helps really get like what you're trying to get out of it. And now, he uses it like every couple hours, if not more. And I use it probably daily, if not like every few days at least.
I come from the school of thought, as I think a lot of people like in their 40s kind of now, is like when the new iPhone comes out, you have to wait for like the second and third gen for them to work out the kinks. So when Chat came out, I was like, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm gonna let them work out the bugs. Then I'm gonna start getting my feet wet. And I did, and it was a game changer for all aspects of things. And so it was when I reached my daily limit of what is it, like space
questions
that you can use for free,
on the free one.
I was like, it was a no-brainer. I'm like, well, I'm already using it to the limit. I can't do, and I have so much more stuff I want to do. I can't just wait till tomorrow to re-up my time. I'm like, you know what? You get my $20 a month, because it's definitely worth it. And then I'm looking at other chats as well, and there's one that I really want to use for content. But I'm still, again, I'm kind of doing my research on it. But AI is a great tool.
Basically it replaced me, because when he first started
for
his
emails,
business,
for emails,
he would send like emails and chats.
She was my copywriter / proofreader.
Basically, because he would answer in a very, I call it like a guy way. It'd be like, thank you, or cut and dry, like questions, no hi, no hello. There's no like excited punctuation. It was all periods. And I was like, several times I was like, you sound bored or bothered. Like he'd literally send me the text he was going to send. I'd add a couple like things. I'd add, some personality to it and some emotion. And then he'd like send it to them. But with ChatGPT, it literally put that in there for him. He can write out, what he wants, and then
this is what I want to write. Make it sound like Crystal. Send to Chat spits it out, copy, paste, send. It's done.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, and it's just the possibilities are endless, and I'm still to this day, I forget that it's even like a resource to use sometimes. Like I'll be struggling with something, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, let me just ask ChatGPT.
She asked me. She's like, what should I do? I'm like, ask ChatGPT? Or hold on, let me give you an answer. And I asked ChatGPT.
Right?
Yeah. So what is one major way that you use it?
I mean, definitely with social media. Yeah. But I think it's I shouldn't just say social media, because it's actually more repurposing content. I might start with an idea of, hey, I have a video of me doing this, and I tell what ideas that I want to get out there, and what audience I want to target. And from there, I would just say, could you also make this a blog post? And can you also make this an email? And just getting all the businessy things that us creatives don't have time to do. And actually cool, because it's to the point now where I'll just say, hey, my social girl, her name's Sawyer. So
what is it?
Sawyer.
Nice.
Sawyer. Yourself.
Mine's Glitch.
Oh yeah,
mine's Pixel Ray Boom. She got real fancy with her name.
A little edgy too,
right?
Well, yeah. Now it asks me, "Oh, do you want this to be a blog post too?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And,
right?
Oh, how about an email? And I'm like, "You just do your thing."
Right?
So it's great. So repurposing content is huge. But even those unconventional ways that you said, I know when we first got that lot of land, I couldn't rack my brain around. It's kind of awkward. And I thought, man, how is this going to use? So I asked ChatGPT how they could design a blueprint that's such and such a square foot and includes this, and also put in additional things that I might not think about as far as safety regulations, and did a pretty good job, and just gave me an idea of how a basic structure could be. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, so I usually ask the question, what's one tool, mindset, or skill that you've, used or obtained that has made a impact on your business? And would you say that ChatGPT was one of those, or is there one that you can think of that was, a little bit more substantial for you?
Oh, so when I was first thinking about this question, I did not think of ChatGPT. So yes, I would say it definitely helps, especially when you're a single business owner. Or if you're even thinking about getting that first employee, how you can leverage it. And I always had I don't know, people use Trello, but a Trello board that organizes different checklists and different workflows. And on it, I have, okay, if I were to get my first employee, this is what I would need it to do. And when I saw the things that ChatGPT was capable of, kind of like how you became, his persona, then it kind of took that off the list. And I thought, wow, now if I were to hire someone, I could focus on teaching how to use machines or how to do something different than just the maintenance stuff that needs to be done. But going with that, it's one thing that I thought of is I'm such a big mindset person, and I always dig into why things happen, and it's so woo-woo, I know, but never stop learning. And maybe it goes back to my teacher roots too. Even for people who are in this for 5 years, 10 years, however long, there's always more to learn. And the more you learn and can share, the more well-rounded you are. And I think that is shown with ChatGPT, and being willing to embrace it and see how it can be adaptive to any career, but with what we're doing specifically. I think that when you're always learning, then you just become this mold, and you can surprise yourself with the new directions that you can go and the roads that you might not have gone down before. So
I need to start including this in our pre-email. But the learning part of your answer, do you have any books that you would recommend that there's been some people, and a lot of them have been mindset books, and that's what made me think of it. But there've been some really good books, that past guests have shown. Do you have any that come to the top of your head?
Oh my gosh. Well, I can pull up my Audible here.
See, yeah.
We don't read anymore.
Nope.
No. Yeah. Well, and so it was funny. I was actually just finishing up Crushing It by Gary Vee. Yeah. And he said nowadays with Audible and those kind of resources, we can now turn, a 30-minute, 1-hour drive or showering or brushing your teeth into learning time, where people before didn't necessarily have that resource. That was just kind of not wasted time, but you couldn't also learn something while you were showering or driving or,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely. And that's what, whenever there's laundry now, I'm like, I got this. I'll go do the laundry. And I can put it in the earbud. And my husband thinks I'm so weird because he's like, what are you listening to? Like, what do you have to? And I'm like, yeah, this is like, I can get in the zone now. And before I know it, everyone's clean again. So I'm a big Gary Vee person though, too. I love all of his books. I'm currently in the middle of The One Thing. And it's instead of like having huge checklists of the things that need to get done, how switching your mind into thinking like, okay, what's the one big thing that I can get done today? How to approach that, and then why that could lead to more success than having the overwhelm of checklists and looming over your head. Which is, I mean, I have like a digital checklist and a paper checklist, and
all of them. Random pieces of paper.
Is that a Gary Vee book?
No, so that one is by Gary Keller. Gary Keller. Let's see here. I did like Day Trading Attention by Gary Vee. Yeah. That one was really nice. It really went into, kind of focusing on and applying it to business, how you can keep the attention of people with like just being yourself and showing up and and not worrying about reaching the quota or reaching statistics and checking all the boxes off. But gosh, so many of these are Gary Vee books. 12 and a half, Thank You Economy, they're all Gary Vee. So I guess I'm a big cheerleader of that.
He's great. He's super motivating. There was another one. It's a different Gary something Bishop. I listened to the preview of his. So he has a book called Unfuck Yourself. And I'm pretty sure I listened to that one as well. That was, I think, a recommendation from Cindy. And then he has another one. I forget what the title is, but it's basically like get your shit together, kind of. Yeah, and I think that's gonna be my next one. Have you heard that one?
Yes. Yeah. I actually read it. That was probably like the last book I read.
Right.
Because it was a Christmas gift, but it was so good. And there again, it just kind of shows you perspective. And like I was talking earlier about the smaller and smaller things that start to matter rather than like the burnout that you get from just chasing those dreams. So
for sure.
Cool. Well, we'll do more book talk for Patreon. So if you like this book talk, we'll continue this book conversation because I have a few more book recommendations as well.
Nice.
But that'll do it for the live portion. And for everybody, the life update's next. And we're back for the life update. What you got? Anything?
I don't know that I have anything. The only thing that we kind of talked about just briefly on the paid portion, the Patreon extended interview, was about how we want to kind of start doing something with JR. And it was funny. What did we were talking, so he wants to make something. He's been asking, like he's always asking how he can like make money. I want to do chores. I want to make money. He wants to make money. Probably because a lot of times we tell him, no, we're not going to buy that. So he wants to buy it himself.
No in-app purchases. And he wants in-app
well, he's still not going to be able to have in-app purchases even when he potentially makes some money.
It's just harder to say no when it's his own money.
Right. But so we were talking and like, it's kind of been very loose. And then this last week we were like, oh, maybe we could teach him how to use the laser and make, we're like, oh, what do you want to make? And he was like, keychains. And then like, well, that makes sense.
That's right up our alley, sir.
And we asked him, what should we call it? And he was like, I don't know if he asked or we asked, but
I think we just threw out some titles.
Yeah, and he goes Riley Black Jr. And I was like, didn't really flow. And I was like, what about Riley Black Jr.? So we're gonna make him a Riley Black Jr. like playlist on the YouTube channel. Just kind of show him some things, like have him put in the material, maybe even press start, that kind of stuff, and just see where it goes. He's always been very interested with it. He loves watching it. Jackson too is always like, ooh, what's that? What's it doing? So that'll be kind of fun, and he was, once we mentioned it, then he was like, when are we doing it? And it was like a Wednesday, and we're like, not now.
Can I cut something today? And like, no, that's gonna be a weekend thing,
right? So that'll be fun to kind of see how that goes for him and, what he likes doing and just seeing where that goes. And I mean, it's a perfect time to do it because we're taking him to the Jamboree in June.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to see. I want to tell him so bad, but I know I will kick myself
every day.
Because he won't stop talking. When are we going? How many days? Whatever. Maybe around my birthday.
Around your birthday?
Yeah. I mean, it's just
gonna like bombard. Are we going today? Oh, there's only 22 days left before we go. Oh, there's only 21 days before we left.
Yeah, give him something to focus on.
He's be like, Echo, how long before July? Yeah,
that's it's like Christmas. It's like Halloween. He does that with all of those.
How many days before? Yeah, especially when it's coming close.
Well, and then I mean, it will be kind of fun because if we tell him soon, he'll be able to tell his friends.
Yeah, that he's going.
That he's he loves telling his friends like what he's gonna do or what he got or whatever.
When they say, what are you gonna do? Or any plans for the weekend? Oh yeah, I'm going to a laser con. That was me.
Oh,
I'm going to a laser conference with my parents. They're gonna do their podcast.
Yeah. But that's all I have. What do you have, sir?
Well, going on him doing content. A big thing that everyone's always asking, like me personally, is like about content and how to do it, what cameras they should buy,
what microphones,
all that, which is what led to my like daily tips that I've started on Instagram. Well, I'm gonna turn that into a course.
Nice.
I think I said it last time. That I started to outline it or whatever.
Right.
So I have it all. It's gonna be 5 modules. I think it turns out to 20 lessons, more or less. So I know 2 modules, 2 or 3 have 5 lessons, and the rest have like 4 lessons. So it's not gonna be something crazy, but it'll give you a good head start in how to do content, best practices, and just all around getting your feet wet on information about how to do content, and hopefully gives you the confidence to start recording and start doing content because you'll have some information under your belt and what to do. And it'll be under $100. We haven't locked down price.
Yeah, I feel like you can't really figure out price until you're done.
Until it's
because
done, right.
So many times I've tried to come up with my silhouette course. I wanted to charge $99.
Yeah.
And the amount of work that went into that, are you crazy? Like, absolutely not. Because, they just snowball. We're working with a friend who won't be mentioned on potentially making their course.
Right.
And it's hard to reel it in. They actually messaged me the other day, how do I stop?
Right.
And it's like you eventually just have to stop. You can always add stuff later.
And for your course, it was at least the LEDs, because I was more hands-on with the LED course. You have to design it. You have to cut it.
Right.
You have to put it together.
Yeah.
And all those are separate videos, all for like one, like talking about one portion of the process.
Right.
Like one, whether it be like compound paths. I've heard her say that a lot. Or whatever, like the lessons, it's one project, and then then on to the next one. And it is more of a process. For me, it's just, hey, these are the best. This is what you should do here.
Right.
This is what this is what you should do there. Maybe these are the
It's basically documenting all of your, not even all of it, most of your knowledge and tips and tricks in one easy to follow.
Right.
Like, sure, you can get all this from YouTube or from the content that you've done.
Like everything.
But here's something that it's basically, I remember when people would ask, like, oh, what's the benefit to your course? Is this information available elsewhere? Yes, ask me a question and I'll tell you, and I won't say, oh, you can find that out only in this module in this lesson of my course. It's like, no, but if you want in-depth, like, where I cover every single tool and the toolbars and like, all the different options that, you go and it going usually in succession in a sequence that makes sense.
Right.
So,
well, it also gives you, here's a little bit of foreshadowing. It gives you kind of a blueprint on what to do. Because everyone always asks, like, oh, where should I start? What should I do?
Right.
And it's easy to say, well, start today. Like, start doing stuff. But that's easy. It's like, well, what do I record? What do I say? How do I do this? And I'm not telling you exactly what to do, but I'm giving you ideas to think about for what to do. So at least you have that kind of strategy going forward, and then it'll go into like what equipment to kind of get, both beginning with all the way up to, whatever. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty good course. I think it's going to be well received because again, I'm going to be answering questions that everyone is always asking, which is the whole point of why this even came about and why my tip series came about on Instagram. So follow Riley Black Media on Instagram and see because I have been a little slow to loading them up onto my personal because Secret Time, I get to schedule them on my business where personal, every day I have to post it.
Right.
And, with soccer and with, not soccer, running and with, we're adding karate and just editing everything. I usually forget. And then it's like 7:00. I'm like, I shouldn't, if I post now, no one's going to see it because it'll be buried. Yeah. I know. That's one of the things I say.
Right.
It's one of the things I say. But,
same. I say
but
the
I
same
feel
thing.
like that when I'm on the couch, I'm like, I don't want to post. I just want to scroll. I don't want to post now.
Yeah.
So I've been slow to putting all my business stuff on my personal, but I should because I have more followers on my personal.
Yeah. For now.
Yeah. So follow Riley Black Media. Follow Riley Black Project Community Group. If you're a Patreon.
Riley Black Designs too. Why not? If you're not already.
Yeah. Buy keychain thingies.
Yeah.
What else are we pushing?
That's all the things right now. I mean, so the birthday sale. If you guys are still listening, Happy B-Day is the discount basically across all of our platforms. So
not Riley Black Media. It's not my birthday.
Silhouette for Lasers. That is 41%. I keep wanting to say 42. I'm turning 41, not 42 yet.
Everyone's holding out till you turn 50.
Silhouette for Lasers and LEDs with RBD.com. Those are both 42% off. Keychain thingies is 10% off. Most items on the website, there's a couple things that aren't included, but most of the keychain stuff is. What else? My files on Etsy, those are all 42% off as well. And Patreon memberships is 10% off your first month or your first year. So you get to choose which one makes the most sense for you. But yeah, everything's on sale for the whole month of May. So May 31st is the last day of the sale. So check it out if there's anything that tickles your fancy. As far as the courses go, that is the biggest discount that I'll do until Black Friday. Not ever, but Black Friday I usually do one big sale a year, and then I'll do smaller sales here and there throughout the year. But yeah, so if you've been interested in it, now is a good time. And then I will hopefully be working on a revamp of Silhouette for Lasers. And then that means the price will go up because there will be more work added. Right. And it'll be much more production value and all that. So the podcast course is still coming. It is.
It's just a lot more people ask us about content than they do the podcast.
True.
So we will be answering that question in the course as well, but content took
Well, and we're always open, like if you have a question, here and there.
Yeah, you can always reach out.
Meantime.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But to have a course. And also, if there is something on keychain thingies or RileyBlackDesigns.com that you like that are not keychains, buy them now because we might not be restocking. We're gonna be
streamlining.
Yes. So if you're like, oh, I really like these, I'll buy them later. I know she has them. I know. Yeah. So all the keychains will be around, obviously, and we'll probably keychain thingies will be around. Yeah. Not the keychains. Those are what we're kind of phasing out. No, we are. We need space. So not all of them, but
I'm keeping some of those charms.
Yes, but if your favorite might make the cutting block, so be sure to stock up on them because we're not stocking up on them.
No, I think what I'm gonna do, which I haven't even really shared with you. So a lot of the stuff
I didn't share with you. I was gonna push that. So
right, but some of the things that I'm gonna get rid of. I think I'm gonna move them to a special orders part because I can still get all those things, and if you want to order them in bulk, I'll order them for you. Right. But they're just not going to be things that I have in stock, so you have to order them a month ahead of time in bulk. Yeah. And bulk for a lot of this stuff, depending on what it is only 12 to 50 pieces, so not too crazy. Some of them have a lower minimum. Right. But that would be a special order, but I can do that for people even when those things go away. So
And it's raining outside. Also we talked about we're not going to change our prices due to tariffs.
Yeah.
So if that's something you're
not
worried
right
about
now,
with keychain things as of right now,
we're going to try to absorb it as much as we can. We are on the higher end, compared to some, but I mean, we have the most options, colors, styles, etc.
Right.
So we're doing okay, but if it still goes up, we might have to bump it up. I've been thinking about bumping up shipping a little bit because that has gotten more expensive, and I haven't adjusted those prices in years. Most of these prices are the same prices I've had when I started.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of go from there. You guys will let you know when it happens. I would order now though, because you never know what
you don't know what's going to
happen,
and we're going to try our best to keep prices the same. But I mean, we got to survive and be viable as well. So well, with that, it's been a great episode of the Red Back Project. Crystal and John.
Bye.
Maybe we're all done. The Red Back Project. Bye.
Say bye.
Bye.
Wait, hold on. Nino, I'm recording.